Hi, everybody. I am here to talk to you about understanding yourself. So, a lot of times that we just go through life and we really don't understand what makes us up. So, who we are, and we kind of just think that everything that happens in our life is unconscious, but things become unconscious over time. So, we're really going to discuss how some of our belief systems, value systems, and our experience actually translate into us being us and what they create. And obviously, we can discuss how they have positive impacts, but I want to kind of discuss how they can have negative impacts because what I really want to get to is habits. So that will be in the next video. So in this video, we're really going to talk about understanding us, understanding you. So I had a slideshow, but I had technical difficulties. And this is one thing that I saw from Brendan Burchard. He's a motivational speaker. I think he has a lot of I think he has like four best-selling books, and I think he has a lot of other stuff on the go. But he's on YouTube. He's a motivational speaker. Check him out. He does lots of really, really good stuff. But I'm sorry I have to steal this idea because if I don't do my video, I'm never going to do it. So the time's never right and something's always going wrong technically. So sorry, you won't get to see my slideshow and we just got to do it this way. Let's start. So first things first is our values. So where do our values come out from? So when we're children, value systems actually come to us from society, from our caregivers, from the people around us, from experiences. We also learn our value system from watching TV, the dominant value system around us. And value system is more like a statement. So thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not murder, or thou shalt not covet thy neighbor or covet thy neighbor's wife. And it's sort of like saying somebody should do something about that. So it's really just a statement in itself. And what happens is as you grow older, you end up having your own belief system. So your belief system is more like I statements. So this is kind of a description of what's wrong, and you're like, oh, okay, this is a description of what's wrong. But then you develop your own belief system around it. So when you're really young, or actually when you're old, I should kind of reframe that because value systems can come to us when we're older, and they do come to us when we're older, especially when we have changes in our life. But I'll get to that a little bit later. So the belief system we have is when we start developing I statements around something. So I'm not going to steal because it's wrong. Society is going to punish you for it. So guess what I saw on TV? So I'm really young, and I'm going to say, well, one of the cartoons stole and he got in trouble. So I don't think stealing's right. So I'm just a little kid here, and I'm going out my value and my belief system. But as I grow older, these things start to morph and they start to change, and then you get into value judgments, moral judgments, your beliefs around this, like what would you actually do, and how do you judge yourself and between these value systems. So that's really, really important. These are kind of like your core, your foundation, and your experiences. So as you grow older and as an older individual, you'll see that your belief and your value systems might change based on your experiences. So a lot of times, if you go back to your example of stealing, so a lot of people know that stealing's not wrong or not right. Pardon me, that's not right. It's not right. So they know that it's wrong because society punishes you for it. You can go to jail for stealing. It's not socially acceptable. There is social punishments for stealing. You probably won't get invited to a party again if you steal, right? And so people see, okay, these experiences are bad, but in certain situations, stealing might be okay. If you live in a society, if you live in a community where stealing is okay, It might not be what society's value is, but your immediate community or your immediate household might take this value on, and you might say, okay, well, there's something wrong here. Like society telling me this is wrong, but in my household, it's right. And then you create kind of friction between yourself. There's guilt, there's shame. A lot of negative feelings might come out for you, but the more you see it, the more it's okay. And that kind of goes along with everything. Like you kind of create yourself a bubble and you say, okay, well, in society, like this is not okay. Stealing's not okay in society, but in my household, it's okay. And it's okay because of these reasons. Like, for example, people with lower socioeconomic status, people in poverty might choose to steal. Rich people might choose to steal so they can, be rich, white collar crime. So for themselves, they kind of generate a script where they say, okay, this is okay because my experience tells me it's okay. And that's kind of what they teach. So when you have that, you kind of create a standard for yourself. So your standard might not be congruent with society. So it might not be equal to what society says is okay. And as you grow older, as you have more experiences, your standard will change, your value system might change. Say, for example, you like to steal, but for example, you can't steal outside of your community. Nobody outside of your community knows that you're this individual. And maybe outside of your community, you're actually considered a really nice person. You volunteer, you do social things, and you continue to justify. You say to yourself, well, I'm a really good person outside my community. I am acceptable outside my community. And then you set yourself a standard. You say, okay, well, this is okay. My behavior is okay. And then as you get older, you get more experiences, more things change in your life, and you serve consequences for certain things, and you don't have consequences for other things, you set your mindset around it. So you can have different type of mindset. So you can have a growth-based mindset or you can have a fixed mindset. This is from Carol Dweck. I love her explanation of mindset. So if you get a chance to check her book out, I definitely recommend it. She talks about having a growth-based mindset where you're able to take on new experiences, you're able to synthesize them, and they help you actually see life in different ways, and you actually are able to enjoy your experiences. But when you have a fixed-based mindset, you're really not able to see things in different ways. Your value system is very fixed. So, that's like, best example is probably the crotchety old person that we have, like we see on TV, and they're like, you kids get off my lawn. So like, and they pull their shotgun out and everything. So in experiences such as this, an individual who has a fixed mindset is unable to mold themselves. They're unable to move. They're unable to take on new experiences and synthesize them in a better way for themselves. So their standard is really fixed and their mindset is really fixed. So they think, for example, if we go back to our stealing example, the person who steals will be like, well, society, this is what society has made me. This is what society wants of me. If society wanted any better out of me, they would have given me a better life. I would have had better caregivers. MCFD would have came, Ministry of Children and Family, sorry, that's what we call it in British Columbia. So, child services would have came and got me, or a family member would have taken me in. But this is life, and this is my standard of life, and I cannot achieve any higher than this standard. And your mindset it just gets fixed around that. So you're unable to see experiences for what they really are. So positive experiences can sometimes seem like negative experiences when you have a fixed mindset. But when you have a growth-based mindset, even failure, you can see the growth in it. You can see, okay, well, this is a lesson I learned. So around that, you get your self-talk. So when you have your value system, your beliefs, So this is just, a system, and this is your belief around that system and your experiences and your lower standard, higher standard, your own definition of things, and your mindset, which is open or closed, create self-talk. So self-talk can be positive or negative. The best example of self-talk for us is, I think, Thomas the Engine. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And as Thomas the Engine went up the railway, he just continued to say, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And then at the end, he's like, I can, I did it. Because he just kept on saying he could do it, and he continued to do. So self-talk can be very significant. It's the signal that plays in our heads, the script that plays in our head. This is the thing that we say to ourselves. So self-talk, when it's negative, can actually impact us very, very badly, because we say to ourselves that I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm unable to do this. I am this person. Sorry. And self-talk actually ends up becoming us over time. So we can take that identity on. So this individual here with the value system and his belief system regarding theft can say, okay, well, I'm a thief. This is who I am. And in every situation, I have to be a thief. So what happens is that person tells themselves that this is who I am and I can't go beyond this, because this is what their self-talk is constantly telling them. And your self-talk changes in situations. Like, say, for example, when he's outside and he's volunteering, he's helping inner city kids, and he's donating back, or she, sorry, this person can say, okay, well, I'm a really good person, and that signal plays in their head, and they'll continue wanting to, be that person, right? And they'll take that identity on with themselves as well. So then you have things like cognitive dissonance, where you have two minds, where you have two sets of mind that are not meeting up with each other. So that's actually a word from counseling and a psychology word. And it's cognitive dissonance is something that we all face, like when we believe two things at the same time, two contradicting things at the same time, and they create a lot of problems for a lot of people. So self-talk can create a lot of things. It can have a lot of negative impacts on our life. So with self-talk, it's always on a spectrum, because we're different people in different situations. So different people in different situations. So one of the best examples is our person who steals. So when he's in his community, stealing's okay. This is something that everybody does. That's what they have to do to survive. But when he's outside of his community, he's no longer a thief. Like, although he's identifying as a thief inside of his head, he actually does different things outside the community. So he's a different person outside his community, and everything's on peaks and valleys. You're never the same person. Values, beliefs, and experiences, standards are not set across every board. They do change. You mold here and there. Obviously, there's always going to be some significant patterns, but it doesn't mean that you're same every part of your life, in every situation of your life. A really good example of that is confidence. So say, for example, you might be really confident when you're with your friends and you're talking about stuff. So, you're a few people here and there, but when you have to get out socially, things get a little bit weird, and they get even weirder when you have to start dating, and that's where you get a lot of social anxiety. Things make you really upset. You're unable to really be yourself. So it's across the spectrum. It's across it's peaks and valleys. So constant change with that. So what you do in different situations is you reinforce self-talk. So when different situations happen, you're either going to reinforce your negative self-talk or your positive self-talk. And your mindset and everything is building up to your self-talk in different situations. So say, for example, the person who's a thief, say, for example, he has to go on a date. and he has to go find the woman of his dreams. And he does find her, and he's like, oh, wow, she is wonderful. But he says to himself, well, am I really worthy of her? Am I really worthy of her because I am this individual? I've taken this identity on, and all outside my community, I'm meeting this woman and I'm a wonderful person, but in my own head, who am I? I'm a thief. So is this something that's going to be a part of her value system? So we might go on a few dates, we might, have a lot of fun. This is in the back of my head, I have the signal playing constantly. Head all the time. This script is constantly going through. It's telling me who I am. I can't go beyond this. So I am going to be congruent with that signal. It takes you a lot to challenge that signal. I'm not saying people don't challenge it and they continue to stay who they are and there's nothing that changes what happens. That's not true. A lot of people go beyond their negative self-talk, but this is for people who want to learn about their negative self-talk and might want to change their negative self-talk. So we'll just go over it. So you're always going to be congruent with it. And this is an unconscious act. So, for example, going back to our stealing habit, if the person thinks they're a stealer and they meet somebody that they really, really like, but they tell themselves, okay, this person really doesn't want to be with me because I am this person. And this is my identity. My self-talk, over time, I've taken it on and it's become my identity. So I tell myself that I can't move beyond this because my self-concept that's made out of my values and beliefs and experiences is me. So this is everything that happens around me, my life, my physical appearance, my experiences make up my self-concept. So this is how I think about myself in context to the entire world. And then I have my self-respect, which is kind of based on my standard and my mindset, but it just kind of adds on from my value, belief system, experiences. I come to my standard and my mindset. This is how I think of myself based on these systems, based on my experiences, based on what I've done and what I see other people doing. So it's the value that I hold to myself, my experiences, and how I cherish those or not cherish those. And then I come down to my self-efficacy. So my self-efficacy is really important. It's how much command I have over my life, how much command I feel I have over my life. So this is my belief in my ability to succeed. So if I've taken on this thing about being a thief, and I say to myself, my experiences tell me this is who I am, and I continue to succeed at thieving without being caught, without having any consequences, you know what? I'm going to reaffirm this and I'm going to continue to succeed at it. I'm going to continue to believe that it's me. But say, for example, I'm trying to break this loop and I can't break out of these experiences. I can't break out of the standard. I can't break out of the mindset. Somewhere in there, I'm going to start believing that I cannot break out. My ability to succeed and get out of this starts to wither and I start to deplete. And I just continue and you take it on. But this actually ends up happening unconsciously. So a lot of people, even myself, never really thought about it until I started doing a little bit more research. So let's go back to congruency. Congruency is actually really, really important because the signal that plays in our head, we kind of need to be equal with it. If we're not equal with it, we have things like cognitive dissonance. We have a lot of self-anger. We have a lot of self-hatred. And as we have those negative things, reaffirm negative self-talk because negative self-talk is really a negative value that you have on yourself. It's negative self-concept, negative self-respect. It's lack of self-respect. So all these things will actually create low self-esteem. So congruency with this signal, with this statement that you tell yourself is sometimes really, really important. And you'll do it unconsciously. So these are like self-fulfilling prophecies, self-sabotage. That's what you'll hear people saying when they talk about this kind of stuff, is being congruent with yourself. When you tell yourself things, you'll want to believe them and you'll want to live up to them. So tell yourself good things. It doesn't quite work that easily sometimes. And you continue to reinforce it. So let's go back to our guy who thinks he's a thief. He's met the woman of his dreams and he's gone out on a few dates with her. He is smitten by her. She really likes him. But he's going to see, he's going to tell himself, he's going to continue to say, okay, well, I'm a thief. I can't go beyond my beliefs, my life, my self-talk. He's going to start self-sabotaging. He's going to fulfill his self-fulfilling prophecy, and he might start stealing. He might be on a date with her, or he might be about to go on a date with her, or he's going to be seeing her in the next weekend. But before he sees her, he sees this really shiny red car. And he's like, well, it's just telling me to steal it. His mind might tell him, no, you have this really nice lady, you're changing your ways. But he says to himself, no, thieving is my identity. If she can't deal with it, she can't deal with it. She's not good enough for me. And then what you do is you reinforce it. You become congruent with that thing by stealing the car. So you actually sabotage yourself. So a better example for real life is getting a new position at work, or getting finding a new partner, something that you really like. And you say to yourself, well, this is not going to work. And then you start not showing up. You start not being present. You start not paying attention. So see how work and relationship will work the same way. So it's true. So you have to be present. You have to be there in all these relationships in order to make them work. So whether it be an employer-employee relationship or employment situation, or an actual relationship, friendship, romantic relationships, like, you have to be present, you have to be there. But you do things to sabotage them, because you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough. So you're getting affected by your self-concept is affected, your self-respect, and your self-efficacy is impacted, and your self-esteem, your total self, doesn't believe that you can actually do this. So you just reinforce it. And as you reinforce it, your negative self-talk gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Each experience you have to confirm it, you actually make it stronger. And it's become a coping strategy now. So every time somebody tells you that, you can't do this, you might go out and steal again, because you're trying to reaffirm this negative self-talk. You're trying to reaffirm your identity. So you take it on as a coping strategy. And as you do it more and more, it'll become a habit. So a lot of people don't know, a lot of coping strategies are actually habits, like anger. Anger is a habit. Anytime that you can make a choice to do something different, it's most likely a habit. I'm not saying all habits stem from old values and belief systems. It's not true. Science is telling us that your value system actually develops over time, and it changes a lot from childhood. Your coping strategies and the experiences that you have and the self-talk, your value systems, are normally around the 10-year mark. 10, 15 years around yourself is where you start forming predominant value systems, and everything kind of changes depending on what society you live in. So if you live in a war-torn country, or you've been to a war-torn country, you kind of have a shift in paradigm. So this is from Dr. Stephen Covey, and he talks about shifts in paradigm. So that's the foundational shift in what your belief system is. Best example is Santa Claus. So when you're a kid and somebody tells you Santa Claus is not real, you're like, oh my God, Santa Claus is not real, and you never really look at the world the same way. Nothing really has that magic anymore. So, you have a shift in paradigm. And then when people go, when they see other war-torn countries, they'll have a shift in paradigm. They'll see that things are not exactly the way that I thought they were. So you take on different value systems, you take on different belief systems. And then when you have different things happening around you, you'll change your belief system, like dramatic events, or really, sorry, not dramatic, I meant traumatic. Traumatic events in your life can actually really change your foundation. So some of our coping strategies are from really traumatic events. So if your coping strategies are from really traumatic events, things that happen in childhood, things that happen later on in life, a lot of times they're there to protect you. They're there to protect you so you don't have to think back to what happened. So every time somebody questions something, you'll start to exhibit behavior like anger. So you don't have to think about what happened. You don't have to go back to your value system, your belief system, and most likely the experiences that changed you, that scared you. So if you have experiences like that in your life and you have a lot of negative effects, especially after you've had this traumatic event in your life, that traumatic shift in paradigm, it's a good idea to go see somebody about it. I would highly recommend, pardon me, to go see a counselor. A lot of people have a lot of stigma around counselors, but it's really the stigma in your own head. Because nobody lives the life that you live. You're the one who's living your life. You're the one who's having the negative impact on your life, and you're the one who's not capable of fully enjoying your life. So nobody really has the right to judge you for seeking help. So some coping strategies are really ingrained, and we do them over time. That's why they're called habits. So strategies that you use over and over again are called habits. Habits, science shows us, are something that you have to replace. You can't just get rid of a habit. You have to replace a habit. So that's something that I'm going to discuss in the next video. I feel like this video might be going too long. But a few more things about all this stuff is coping strategies will have negative impacts. So you can have positive coping strategies, you can have negative coping strategies. So positive coping strategies are like, when I get upset, I call my friend. Or when I get upset, I go for a run. But other coping strategies can be procrastination. A lot of people don't know procrastination is actually a coping strategy. You can take on coping strategies as anger, other negative type emotions. So these are things that you repeat over and over again that have negative results. So I'm not talking about coping strategies that you use once or twice and they have their outcome. Because remember, in every situation, we are sometimes different people based on what's going on, because it's not just internal, it's external too, right? So it's what the world is giving us and they're putting out to us, and we are dealing with it best we can. Remember, you're the best version of yourself every day because you use all the tools that you have available to you. So instead of going around and punishing yourself for situations, oftentimes it's better to accept and learn from them and move on to the next situation, because that creates a lot of problems, a lot of cognitive dissonance. And what you do is you reaffirm the self-talk. Another thing that I really would like to share is something about negative experiences. So we tend to remember negative experiences more than we tend to remember positive experiences. Keep in mind, positive experiences, it takes 5 positive experiences to combat 1 negative experiences. So I think I read this at the Gottman Institute from, I think it's John Gottman. And he writes books. He has lots of books. He's co-authored lots of journals. researcher, counselor, and he is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Remember, all the tools that you apply to relationships, they can actually, a lot of them can be applied to friendships, regular relationships, because the same tools that often take to make romantic relationship work are like real life tools. They can work in every relationship. So when you go back to it, like it takes 5 positive things to make one negative incident to go away. And I think even Stephen Covey said the same thing. So when you deplete something, you have to take longer to fill it up. And that's your responsibility to know that something is depleted, it's going to take me a little bit longer to build it up. So if our guy thieved the car and he had the consequences, he went to jail and he comes out and he says to himself, well, I'm going to go back to this girl. I'm going to do it. I'm a changed man. And she might be like, you know what? I'm not ready for you. I don't believe you. Like, I really liked you and I cannot, I cannot do this. Or she could say, I'm going to do this. Okay. If you say that you're a changed man, but I'm going to have trust issues with you, it's going to take you a while to get my trust. So you know what? You have to really take the time to gain back that trust. You have to take that time to build up that positive self-talk when you have so many years of negative self-talk. So this is about the end of the video. You can definitely write if you have questions. This is my first YouTube video, so there's lots of pauses, ums, and ahs. Just to let you know, I'm not a social media person. I don't even go on Facebook. I think Facebook emailed me and they said, are you still there? Are you going to use your account? And I was like, I don't know. So I don't have Twitters, I don't have Instagram accounts, so this is a big leap for me. And I can credit some of these processes to it because as I'm doing, I'm learning, and as I'm doing, I'm building confidence, and I am learning that I don't have to be congruent with my negative self-talk. So thank you very much.